The dress shimmered like a dream, a vision of white lace woven with delicate threads of embroidery, catching the light in ways that felt almost magical. It was the kind of dress every woman imagines wearing on the day she promises her heart to someone, the day she steps into a future bound by love, trust, and hope. But for her, standing before the mirror now, she felt far from the beautiful bride she had always imagined herself to be. The fabric, soft and graceful, pressed against her body like a promise she wasn't sure she could keep. Her hands trembled as she traced the lace, each delicate stitch echoing the hope and joy she had once felt. But that joy had become something she didn't recognize anymore. Her heart pounded, each beat a reminder of everything that had gone wrong in the weeks leading up to this moment. The quiet whispers of doubt had begun to creep in long before she had even put the dress on. The weight of the past few days, the endless secrets, the lies that twisted her mind. All of it felt suffocating. Standing there, she could still hear his words in her mind. The words that once made her feel like the most cherished woman in the world. The words that should have filled her with anticipation. "I want to see you in that beautiful wedding dress," he had said. His voice had been full of love, full of conviction. In that moment, she had believed everything he had promised her. She had believed that nothing could tear them apart, that they were destined to be together no matter what. But now, as she looked at her reflection, she felt like an imposter in a fantasy that wasn't hers anymore. The weeks leading up to today had been a storm of emotions. She hadn't been able to sleep, her mind racing at night with thoughts that she couldn't quiet. It wasn't just about the wedding, it was about everything that led to this point. The lies, the secrets, the things left unsaid. The love she thought was simple had become anything but. Love, she had thought, was supposed to be two people choosing each other, standing together against the world. But the reality was different. She had learned that love wasn't always a fairy tale. It wasn't always the happy ending that she had imagined. She lifted the dress from the hanger, the soft fabric slipping through her fingers. She ran her hands over it, trying to remember why she had chosen this dress. It was the one he had been there for, the one he had smiled at as she twirled in front of the mirror. He had held her hand, his eyes gleaming. "This is the one," he had said. "You'll look breathtaking." At that moment, she had believed him. She had believed that nothing could shake what they had built together, that their future was solid, unbreakable. But now, as she held the dress in her hands, she realized that everything had changed. A knock on the door broke her from her thoughts, a sharp reminder that the moment she had been dreading was here. "Are you ready?" The voice outside was familiar, hesitant, careful. She swallowed hard, turning back to look at her reflection one last time. "Ready," she whispered to herself, even though she wasn't sure what it meant to be ready anymore. Her fingers trembled as she reached for the zipper, the fabric soft and cool against her skin as she stepped into the dress. It fit perfectly, hugging her in all the right places, the way she had always dreamed it would. She looked at herself, in the mirror again, and for a moment she saw the version of herself that she had always wanted to be. The version he had dreamed of too. But that version felt far away now, distant, like a dream that couldn't come true. The weight of the dress felt heavier now, as if it were pressing down on her shoulders, reminding her of the expectations, the lies, the promises that had been made and broken. Her breath hitched as she stared at herself in the mirror, her heart racing. She was about to marry a man who had betrayed her, a man who had shattered everything she thought she knew about love. Another knock at the door, louder this time. "I'm coming," she called out, her voice barely steady. She stepped toward the door, each movement feeling like she was walking through a fog, like she was trapped in a dream that she couldn't escape. She opened the door and her friend stepped inside, eyes sweeping over her dress. "You look beautiful," her friend said, her voice filled with admiration. But the word beautiful felt wrong. It was all supposed to be beautiful, wasn't it? The dress, the wedding, the future she had planned with him. But now it all felt like a performance, like a play where she was the lead actress, pretending everything was fine when she knew the truth. Her friend didn't see the pain in her eyes. She didn't know about the messages, the lies, The betrayal. She didn't know that the man she was about to marry wasn't the man she thought he was. She should have confronted him. She should have screamed, thrown things, made him explain himself. But instead, she stayed silent, pretending she didn't know, hoping for some kind of proof, hoping that maybe, just maybe, there had been a mistake. Her friend nudged her gently. "Come on, it's almost time," she said, breaking through her thoughts. The time had come. It was time to walk down the aisle and say "I do" to a man who had whispered sweet lies, time to promise forever to someone who had already betrayed her. Her pulse raced as she followed her friend down the hallway, every step feeling heavier than the last. The laughter and chatter of the guests filled the air, but she couldn't hear any of it. Her thoughts were too loud, too overwhelming. She was walking toward a man she no longer trusted, toward a future she wasn't sure she wanted. As she approached the doors leading to the ceremony, she saw him standing at the end of the hall, adjusting his cufflinks. He looked calm, collected, like a man who had done nothing wrong, like a man who wasn't hiding a secret, like a man who hadn't been with someone else just weeks before their wedding. Her stomach twisted. He turned, and their eyes met for a brief moment. For a split second, she thought she saw something flicker across his face. Guilt, fear, or was she just imagining it? He smiled, that perfect, charming smile that had once made her feel like the luckiest woman in the world. But now, it made her sick. She gripped the edge of her dress, her mind racing. She had two choices now: walk down the aisle and pretend, or walk away and set herself free. Her chest tightened as she stood frozen, staring at the man she was supposed to marry. His smile was warm, inviting, like nothing had changed. But everything had changed. She knew the truth. She had seen the messages, the ones that proved he wasn't the man she thought he was. He started walking toward her, his polished shoes tapping against the marble floor with each step. Her friend nudged her again. "Go on," she whispered. "It's time." She inhaled, sharply, steadying herself. As he reached her, his eyes softened when he looked at her in the dress. "You look breathtaking," he murmured, his voice thick with emotion. The words should have made her melt. Once upon a time, they would have, but now they only made her angry. Did he say those same words to her, the other woman? Did he hold her the same way, whisper to her in the dark while telling her that she was his future? Her fingers curled into the fabric of her gown. The weight of it suddenly felt unbearable. He reached for her hand, but she stepped back, shaking, her head. His smile faltered. "What's wrong?" he asked, his voice laced with concern. Everything was wrong, she thought, but instead of saying it, she swallowed her words and forced a small smile. "Nothing," she said softly. "I just need a second." He nodded, his smile returning. "Of course. I'll be waiting at the altar." She watched him walk away, his confidence unshaken as if nothing had changed. But everything had changed. She wasn't walking toward him anymore. She was walking toward the truth. As soon as he disappeared through the grand doors leading to the ceremony, she turned to her friend. Her hands were shaking, but her voice was steady as she spoke. "I need you to do something for me," she said, her words laced with suppressed rage. Her friend furrowed her brows. "What is it?" "Get my phone," she said, her voice trembling. Her friend hesitated but then nodded, rushing back to the bridal suite. She stood alone in the hallway now, her heart racing. She could have waited until after the wedding. She could have confronted him in private. But why should she? Why should she be the one to carry the shame when he was the one who betrayed her? No, he wanted to see her in this wedding dress. Fine. She would give him exactly what he wanted, but not in the way he expected. Her friend returned quickly, pressing the phone into her shaking hands. "Are you sure you want to do this?" She met her friend's worried gaze, her eyes burning with determination. "Yes," she said, and with that, she pulled up the messages, the proof of his betrayal. Her heart pounded as she took a deep breath and pushed open the doors. The room fell silent as she stepped inside. Rows of guests turned their heads toward her, their faces lighting up with admiration. The music played softly in the background, sweet and hopeful, but it didn't match the heaviness in her chest.